You win on Wednesdays. Hello, this is Pastor Will with You Win on Wednesdays. I'm here to share with you another life lesson every Wednesday, every hump day. Look for the camel. I want to talk about prayer for a few moments, but I want to suggest that prayer is not quite as simple. It's not as cut and dry as been taught in years past. It's not an exact science. There's a mystery to prayer that is really beyond our comprehension. Jesus said men, women ought to always pray and not faint. There are very few things that Jesus said we ought to always do, but the consequence is that somehow we faint, we lose consciousness, we are not our best selves. We are not cognizant of all that we are and all that's around us when we're not connected to the divine source. And prayer connects us to Him. And so I'd like to lift several biblical characters that speak to this idea. You remember Moses. He leads the children of Israel into the wilderness on their way to Beulah land, on their way to the promised land, on their way to the land flows with milk and honey. He wants to go into the promised land and see them settle. He spent all of these years. Can you imagine how profound that desire was? And yet, that was not the will of God for him. He's allowed up on Mount Pisgah and he views the land flowed with milk and honey. And many years later, on the Mount Transfiguration, he's allowed into the promised land. And it was not because God did not love him that he did not answer his prayer. I'm here to suggest that it was better to have gone in many years later with Jesus than to have fought with Joshua to go into the promised land. Elijah is another figure. You remember Elijah. Nobody had more praying power than Prophet Elijah. He prayed and called down fire. I'm talking about flames from glory that consumed and destroyed all of King Ahab's prophets. But the queen levies a threat and he runs and finds himself under a juniper tree and asks God through prayer to take his life. But God does not answer that prayer. I'm reminded of a 4-year-old little boy who saw his daddy use a straight razor. Some of you will remember back in the day, there was the straight razor on the side and there was a leather belt strip that the barber would take and sharpen that razor and would give you an edge up or shave. And the little boy asked for the straight razor, and the father said, "No, son, I can't do that. I won't give you that." And the boy broke down and cried like his heart was broken. But the wisdom of the father was such that he would not allow him to have it. I have a grandbaby at home. She's precious. Her name is Ryan, and we're close. She calls me Poppy. And when I come home, she runs and jumps in my arms, "Poppy, Poppy," and she wants to go to the refrigerator, and she loves red popsicles. And she asks, "Poppy, can I have a red popsicle?" And I say to her, "Sure, that's the reason Poppy works so hard, is so that you, Ryan, my grandbaby, can have a red popsicle." But what I don't know is that her nanny Brooke has given her a red popsicle. Her Uncle Tony, her Uncle Alex, and her mom, they've all given her red popsicles at one time or another during the day. But she's working Poppy now. I don't know this, and I'm taking my grandbaby to the refrigerator and down to the freezer, and just as I'm opening the door, Cherry shouts from another room, "She's had 4 red popsicles already." And I look at Ryan, and I know dinner's coming, and I have to say, "No, Ryan, Poppy can't give you a popsicle. You've already had 4. And it breaks my heart, but wisdom dictates that she can't have it. And that's the way we are. Some of us, we want another red popsicle. Some of us, we want a straight razor. We're praying for things that God and the wisdom of God suggests this is not for you. Oh, I'm moved by this. You'll remember Paul. Paul, he had a thorn in his side, and 3 times he prayed, Lord, deliver me. Mark had said many years prior, Mark 11:24, whatsoever thing ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye shall have it, and ye shall receive it. Paul is praying, Lord, deliver me. This thing is painful. Some scholars suggest that it might have been his eyesight. Some suggest that it was the Judaizers who followed and agitated his ministry. But whatever it was, God said no. He said, my grace is sufficient. And Paul was satisfied with that answer, even though he experienced the discomfort. And it seems to suggest that what you're going to learn from this, Paul, is going to bless people. What you're going to gain from this thorn, the mystery that you will learn and the profundity of the message that you'll gain from this thorn is going to be a blessing to others. He said, ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door will be open unto you. It's a mystery. We don't always get what we want. The old people said that he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. I believe in prayer, and I invite you to pray with me every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Time. The number is 712-432-0075. The code is 568066. Everyone I know can use prayer. God bless you.
Was, I want to give you everything because I saw what you can do with a little of nothing.
All right. Come on.
Moses couldn't speak. He couldn't speak. He was a stammerer. He was an outsider. But because he obeyed God, Moses stood against the strongest monarch of his days. And all he had was a stutter and a speak.